everyone, and welcome back to your weekly PlayStation podcast, Talking the PS, where we get together and round up all the gaming and PlayStation news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Plays Games, and also up there, available in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. You're joining myself, Chris, alongside my man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
Hello, everyone.
Hello indeed. Welcome to a fantastic show, everyone. We're going to be talking about PlayStation 5 selling 40 million units, new games for your August month for PlayStation Plus, and Insomniac working on a third mystery game outside of Spider-Man 2 and the upcoming Wolverine title. But before we get into all that, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, ring that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the great content we do here on the show, like this very podcast, like XPass, our weekly Xbox podcast, our weekly live streams, our watch-alongs, and all that other juicy, great content. Big shout out to everyone who does support, comments, shares and stuff down below. We do appreciate it. It helps people find them in the algorithms. And if you are listening on podcast services, do give us a review. Leave us 5 stars. Whatever the podcast service you listen on, it does help us find bigger audiences. So thank you very much to all the fine people out there who do that. Richie, Rob's not here this week. He's busy away as always, doing some things. So just the two of us this week to talk about video games. But that's what we do here on the channel. This past week, we played... What did we play? Why can't I think of it again? Why do I always blank on this? FIFA. We did it the other day. FIFA. We went back and played some football. I highly recommend you don't watch that video because myself and Richie are shockingly bad at a game that we've played for most of our lives.
Let's be fair, that video is literally about 2 hours of us mourning.
Yeah, if you enjoy kind of the angry versions of Chris and Richie, so when I played Monster Boy back in the day and the frustration levels get up, go watch me and Richie compete in co-op seasons against clearly people who are better at the game than us, become very frustrated.
There's a lot of bullshit going on
There's a lot of bullshit, yeah. Physics, mechanics, stuff, yeah. It didn't work.
Phil Foden bribed the FA.
The game ran well. I had, in hindsight, it's one of those like Dark Soulsy. You enjoy it, but you don't enjoy it. It's a love-hate relationship with FIFA. I think I'll be sticking with career mode from now on. But it was available in the clouds for the first time since Google Stadia shut down, so we thought it was worthwhile jumping back and checking it out. So if you enjoy that kind of content, it's there. If I don't enjoy that kind of content, we said we might even delete the video because we were that bad. We just got hammered. If you enjoy hammerings in football, go watch it. But so hopefully something more exciting in the next live stream that we do. I should point out I'm not here for this week's live stream as well. I'm away in the lovely Krakow in Poland once again. I'm returning to the scene of the crime, Richie. I may drink vodka. I may eat loads of dumplings. We shall see. So yourself and Rob will take the mantle with that one, figure that one out. So keep tuned for that. But of course, we start off every show with talking about what we've been playing at the moment. So Richie, what have you been up to in the last 7 days, video game wise?
So, still Final Fantasy VII, and I'm right on the cusp of rolling credits.
Oh.
There's 18 chapters. I'm about maybe 2/3 the way through chapter 17.
Okay.
I'm basically right. I've probably got maybe a couple of hours left.
So you're about to get to that point when you have to now wait until next year for the second part.
Well, I've got the DLC to play, which is one of the reasons why I started a replay. So I have made the decision last night that I was thinking about going for the platinum on this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I can be bothered. You know, when you get a game that you feel like, I think because of my holidays done this, where I kind of fizzled out on it. I'm ready to move on. The momentum's
gone.
The momentum's gone. I'm ready to move on, but I want to roll credits before. I'm hoping maybe when I get in the DLC, I might give me that pickup back into it. But yeah, I want to finish Final Fantasy VII Remake, get through the DLC, go back, roll credits on Zelda, and then there'll be something new. I'm ready for something new.
Ready for something new. Have you enjoyed playing through it again?
Oh, yeah,
you've obviously finished the title before.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great game. This is why I was happy to play through it again, and I wanted to play through it again because it is such a good game. I really, really enjoy it. But yeah, I am just ready to move on. Has
it got you more excited for the second part next year? Obviously, we're creeping up. I mean, we're not creeping up that quick. It is still the middle of summer, but we are crawling closer towards that Final Fantasy Rebirth.
Not really, but I was already 100% in on Rebirth. So I was replaying through Final Fantasy VII Remake mainly because I wanted to play through the DLC and as maybe a story refresher when Rebirth was planned to originally come out this year. And then it was like, it wasn't long after I started playing that Rebirth got delayed. And I was like, I'm just going to continue now. but it's a nice story refresher before I go into like Rebirth next year. And yeah, and as well because of the holiday situation, it meant that I've had a massive game to enjoy that didn't cost me anything extra.
Yeah, all included, lovely. I have it as well. It was part of PlayStation Plus a few
Yeah,
months back, if I recall.
I own it on disc, but I'm actually playing through PlayStation Plus because I think the PlayStation Plus version is the upgraded version that comes with Integrate,
Yeah.
which is the DLC, where I just have the base version on disc on PS4. So
yeah, so I own it as well, so I might have a decision to make on that one. Because this past week I've been still digging away at the world of Final Fantasy 16. I finished the story now, done it. Finished my first Final Fantasy game. Richie, you proud of me?
I am.
I've done it.
I think 16's next for me, actually. I think that's where I'm going to go.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. I know I've been saying week in, week out now. Again, time is limited with having a child, so it's been basically committing to one game with maybe FIFA and some smaller ones in between. But the bulk of my time is when I have that hour or two free, chip away at Final Fantasy. I've done all the trophy mop-up bar 2, which is I need to upskill all my abilities to top level, which means I need to grind out some basically some more missions on my second playthrough. And the final trophy is complete the game in Final Fantasy mode, which is like, I was actually talking, shout out to Inlead, one of our Helix heroes. I was talking to him on Twitter messages because he's got the platinum trophy. So I was asking how much of a grind like really is it? Because I started in Final Fantasy mode, which is basically Dark Souls mode. And you go in with all your gear, all your abilities, all your weapons and such. But within like the first area, which in the initial playthrough, you've done the demo, right? So like one of the opening bits you get to is just a small area which teaches you how to play the game. There's like 3 guys and it shows you how to hack and dodge and basically a couple entry-level tutorial points. In Final Fantasy mode, they go and drop like a giant chimera monster in there, and it's like, this is the first area, and it's the health bars are so much harder, and basically what would have been like a mini boss fight, it takes like 5 times longer. So as someone who's got time precious to me, it's like, it's not that it's not fun, it's just I know how long it takes to finish the story, and now you're telling me the enemies are twice as hard to defeat, and it's like, oh.
Is it like basically a new game plus with a higher difficulty kind of situation?
Yeah, the level has gone up to level 100, so I finished the main campaign at like 48, so I'm up to level 50 now on New Game Plus, and I've still got all like my great top weapons, and I can still level up, and I can still up the abilities, so I will be getting gradually stronger, but I'm guessing the enemies will too, so it is just a case of, I think InLead said it was like 35 hours for New Game Plus, but that is the platinum. And what's annoying me is that platinum is like, it's nothing complicated, it's within reach, it's just a grind to get there. So I'm thinking, do I just chip away?
You might be a lot more, I'd imagine you'd be a lot more efficient if you just mainline the story, because you don't need to, you know what the story is, you've done all the side quests, all that sort of stuff, so you can mainline it, and you can probably just cutscene skip, which I'd imagine saves a lot of time.
I am doing a bit of that, yeah, especially in this game. However, I do need to get the points to top up my abilities to max, so I do need to do probably some side missions and stuff as well, but I'll figure it out. I feel like I'm on a good track. I'm still enjoying the game. It's became more of like a podcast game now because I've played the story. The side missions don't really mean much anyway. They're quite incidental, so I'm thinking, I'll stick some podcasts on, I'll listen to some background noise, and then I'll just chip away at the grind, because you can add one of the abilities, which is the ring of like, you've got accessories you can add onto your character like you could in the demo, and there's like the ring of basically dodging, timely focus, I think it is, and basically you can just mash square. You don't have to actually dodge. The modifiers. The game does all the stuff for you. So even on a boss fight, I can just mash square, and he dodges a lot of the stuff automatically without me having to press R1. So, but overall, thoroughly enjoyed the story. Anyone out there who's looking for an action RPG, the ending is phenomenal, and some of the kind of like the big boss fights and stuff, and the AAA quality of the game, I'm thoroughly impressed, Richie. I'm delighted to say that I think I'm a Final Fantasy fan now, and this very much could be my game of the year. So,
interesting.
Big praise.
I can't wait. I need to get my hands on this game properly, because I played the demo, and I get paid. Well, actually, I get paid as of recording. Yes, well, as of you listening to this yesterday.
Same.
So I'm probably buying it.
One for the dock.
I'm going to sit on it. I'm not playing that game. I'm not installing that game until I've rolled credits on the Final Fantasy VII remake demo. Not demo, the DLC. and Tears of the Kingdom.
Well,
because I'm so close to the end on both of them. It'd be a shame to not get it
yeah,
over the line.
see it over the line. Well, Final Fantasy through and through for the two of us. And actually, there is some Final Fantasy news in this week's doc as well, because we've got some exciting announcements from other games. Which it's something I'm definitely going to have to pass over to you, because the older games getting expansions still I guess it's a shock to me. But then I guess this is the world of Final Fantasy, so we'll get into all that.
Final Fantasy news yesterday on XPass as well.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, it's a whole world of fantasy. But we'll get into all that. Before we do so, just a quick reminder, we are on Threads. If you're one of the people as part of the Twitter X of this, do join us over on Threads, search for @Helix Plays Games, as we are on all social media. If you want to follow us on Snapchat, I guess, not that we've ever posted anything on there. Facebook, we do have a Facebook page. We do post our live streams and content out to there as well. Not quite in MySpace, I've said that before, but yeah, we are on Threads. We've got like over 60 followers now, but on Twitter we've got well over 1,000, so we'd appreciate if you are listening along at home, go over to Threads and just follow us, just because Twitter seemingly is imploding very, very quickly, so do that one. But Richie, if you could introduce us to the
properly prepared PlayStation perusing points, aka the news.
The news. And the news this week is brought to you, as always, by our fantastic Helix Heroes, those beautiful people who support the channel that extra bit further. From as little as 99p or $1, you can support the channel. You can support these two beautiful faces bringing you better quality content every single week to do with video games. And we appreciate you all. Right. News, Richie. Busy news week for PlayStation. And as we crawl into the month of August, the final month of summer, some might say, we do have our PlayStation Plus games announced, claimable and downloadable. We won't go into them all, but there's a couple to pick from. To start things off, you've got PGA 2K23, you've got Dreams on PS4, and you've got Death Star on PS4 and PS5. They are available to download on Premium, Extra, and Essentials. These are your core games. It's a bit of an odd one this month, personally, because I'm not a big golf enthusiast. We've lamented the unfortunate kind of demise of Dreams for the last few years, in fact, and it's finally had its final nail in the coffin, which I guess, putting it out now, the biggest irony, Richie, is Dreams probably should have gone into PlayStation Plus at launch, so it could get its audience of creatives in to make more content to then make the game live longer. And I look at this list and just think Death Star is the best one on there, and it's a little indie game.
Yeah, that's my. If you're into golf, 2K23.
But if you're into golf, would you have already bought it?
But you've probably already owned it. Yeah.
Because like, if you're a golf fan, you're going to get that.
Dreams closes the servers on the 1st of September, so you have literally a month. And it seems like if you're going to put a game like Dreams on PlayStation Plus, you're going to do it as to kind of give it that push that it needs to get going. And it's like, what's the point of the last hurrah at this point? Like, I'm probably not even going to install. It's one of them PlayStation Plus games where I think, although Dreams is cool as hell, I'm not even going to. It's not even worth me going to actually add it to my library, because literally I'm not going to play it in that 1 month, and there's no option to go back and play it after that.
Yeah.
It just feels like they had a space fill and just chuck Dreams in there. It's a shame. I think this game, if it was on PlayStation Plus from day one, I think it could have had a thriving community going for it.
And then PC later on. It's ironic that we've got certain PlayStation exclusives that have eventually ported to PC, but the one that probably would have benefited the most never got that move. And I think we mentioned it on last week's or the week before show when they actually did confirm it was closing down. But I don't even have any interest to check it out, which is the biggest like disservice to the game, I guess, in its own entirety. Because I'd jump in, I'd look at probably a few creations, and I'd go, I get it, but what's it going to do? But as I said, if you're a golf fan, PGA is there, fantastic. I'm sure it's the best golf game out there at the moment. If you're into creative stuff, you've probably already played Dreams. It's Media Molecule's last hurrah since Little Big Planet 2. Death Star, I would recommend Death Star. If you're looking for something to stream this week, Richie, I'd say if it ends up just being you if Rob is busy, Death Star is probably a good shout. You basically play as a crow who's a soul gatherer. It's a somber, dark, comedic tale utilizing melee weapons, arrows, magic to overcome a fantastic array of beasts and demigods in an isometric action adventure. Gain an edge by customizing your character stats, mastering the abilities and upgrade you obtain as you explore the land of twisted inhabitants and countless secrets, bringing hope to the weird and wonderful characters you meet along the way. Now, I checked out Death's Door probably a few months ago on Game Pass. Now, actually, I played it on like mobile with my Razer Kishi. And it's just comically good. You work at an office building. You are a crow. There's a big fat crow, who's like kind of your boss in the office. He gives you your list of souls you need to go capture, and you head out through a portal door into an isometric world to explore, similar to some of the older Zelda games. You have a sword. You've got some kind of magic casting abilities. You meet the Grand Crow or something, and you have to find a way out of this like routine ritual and basically get a different job as not being just a soul collector. The Crow's cute as anything, even though he is collecting demonic souls, and the isometric nature of the game is a good throwback to games of yesteryear. So even though it is an indie title, highly recommend Death's Door as far a part of PlayStation Plus. And they're all available, these ones, to play from the 1st of August. So it's a very rare occasion when the PlayStation monthly games drop on the very beginning of the month. So fill your boots on that one.
I mean, I had a quick look at the meta scores for this, and it's 87 on Series X and 89 on Switch.
Yeah. So
the user scores are like 8 and 8.4 in that kind of... Yeah, so user score slightly lower than the critics, but it's an 8. It's a solid 8, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well
potentially pushing into a 9 or even a 10, depending on your preference.
I just like playing as a crow. The game opens with, I think he's on a bus. Just like seeing a crow on a bus, and then he gets off and goes to work in an office, and his boss is an asshole. Like, that's quite funny.
I think Death's Door will be this week's stream, unless Rob turns around and goes, "I want to play this," and he comes up with an absolute banger.
He'll still be playing Starship Troopers. That's what Rob will be doing. But actually, we should pause there because it's not all the PlayStation Plus games, because we do actually have the anticipated RPG Sea of Stars coming up at the very, very end of the month. So as part of the PlayStation Plus Day 1 announcements to PS4 and PS5, you'll be able to pick up Sea of Stars, which has just gone gold this past week. The master build has been submitted for certification. And I've just recommended Death's Door to you, Richie. Looking at the trailer for Sea of Stars, this seems to be right up your street as well.
Yeah, Sea of Stars doesn't come till the 29th of August, though.
Yeah, you've got to wait till the very end of the month.
It's also coming to Game Pass as well. So,
is it going on to everything then?
Yeah, it's in the dock for Game Pass actually. But
interesting.
I didn't put it specifically in there, but it's in there of the list of games that are coming to Game Pass for the month section that we're going to have. So yeah, I mean, I'm interested in this game. It's one of them. I mean, you know, when you see a game, like, I'm really interested in this, like I was with Chained Echoes, but then other stuff is like, oh yeah, but what about Jedi Survivor? What about Final Fantasy 16? It's like, I don't know.
Well, that is the problem with this year. Has been so rich in quality video games. Like, if you think between the likes of Zelda and Star Wars and Hogwarts Legacy and Final Fantasy, all the stellar hits that have been coming out, and then this looks great, and I hope it does get its due, because it looks really, really good. It does actually look like an old Final Fantasy game. I'm guessing that's what it's themed around.
Yeah,
just artistically and turn-based.
It's that SNES era, looking like turn-based, like RPG, something like the lines of like a Chrono Trigger or an early Final Fantasy, that kind of sort of thing. But I mean, Final Fantasy, this is the year of Final Fantasy, really, when you think about it.
It seems to be.
Final Fantasy 16 has come out and is potentially getting in the game, is probably going to be in the Game of the Year conversation, and may go beyond to be one of the considered in the greatest games of all time conversation, the way critics are talking about it. And then you got the sequel to Final Fantasy 7 remake. Final Fantasy 7 is one of the greatest games of all time.
When does it stop? I should point out as
well, not next year, because we've got Rebirth.
You got another one, yeah. Sea of Stars, by the way, there is a demo available now on the PlayStation Store. So if you are out there and you're curious and you don't want to wait till the end of the month, it is available to play now. So go fill your boots on that one.
I'm happy to wait till the end of the month, I reckon, because it's coming
to
Game Pass.
Yeah.
I don't need the demo because it's coming to Game Pass, it's coming to PlayStation Plus, so I'm going to have it on 2 platforms anyway.
Absolutely. Moving on, though, to some sales news. The PlayStation 5 has sold 40 million copies. Reading from the Sony Interactive blog, that's how important this is, Richie. It's not the PlayStation blog, it's Sony. It's the parent company, Big Daddy coming down himself. Reading directly from the blog, we launched PlayStation 5 in November 2020, and the world was in a strange and different place than when we announced the console in 2019. Despite the unprecedented challenges of COVID, our teams and our partners worked diligently to deliver PlayStation 5 on time. We continued to face headwinds with the pandemic, and it took months for supply chains to normalize so we could have the inventory to keep up with demand. For more months than I care to remember, we keep thanking our community for their patience while working through these issues. But now, PlayStation 5 supply is well stocked, and we're seeing that pent-up demand finally being met. With the support of PlayStation fans, we've reached a milestone of 40 million PS5 consoles sold through to gamers since launch. Thank you to our community of gamers. This would have been an impossible task without you. So, Richie, PlayStation 5 continues to dominate. 40 million, which is it's a decent number, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. This PlayStation is just, regardless of how brazen they seem to be and how arrogant they are after the success of the PS4, they've definitely gone back to that PS3 air of pomp, and we're the big dogs, and they've got no faces anymore. They've got no one who represents them. It's all like cold business, it feels like.
It feels like they're resting on the laurels a bit too much. I mean, they still turn out good games, but the PS4 era was built around the AAA, quadruple A exclusives, your Horizons, your Spider-Mans, your Ghost of Tsushimas, your Final Fantasy VII remakes, your God of Wars, and they just completely elevated what gaming could be in the first party, like AAA experience for that generation, to the point where Microsoft is struggling to kind of get up to that level.
They admitted in court. Like Phil Spencer literally said, like, we lost the most important generation and we cannot compete with their quality, hence why they're having to go out and buy the quality.
Yeah. And in this generation, they still bring out the game. I think they're coming out at a slower pace at the moment, but they're still landing.
That's like game development through and through, though, isn't it? It's taking so much longer to get them out.
Like Final Fantasy 16, we've just been talking about. Absolutely smashing it. Ragnarok smashing it. Demon Souls came out, not for everyone, but it's done really well. Like the updated versions of things like Ghost of Tsushima, Final Fantasy VII, all this sort of stuff has come out. Even things like Stray, like there's been so much cool stuff like it's coming. And yet, on the back of last generation, I'm not surprised that gamers have like put the trust in Sony going forward, because even if this is your first PlayStation and you're looking at, okay, maybe the cadence of get great games isn't as quick as it was in the last generation, you still have last generation's games and they're still fantastic.
Yeah, they're still there, but 40 million, no number to be shunned at. And obviously we don't really get the reveal of the Xbox numbers. They haven't spoke about it since the Xbox One's kicked off. But evidently selling gangbuster numbers. As part of the blog, they also did list the top PS5 games as voted for by the PlayStation community, which is quite interesting in there. It kind of shows the console is quite young still by looking at the list, because this is the top PS5 games as voted for. There's 40 in the list, and some of them I just question a little bit. No disrespect to Worms Rumble, but making it into the top 40 list of PlayStation games is like, really?
Now,
really?
This makes me wonder, like, who's actually voting on this, because I never saw anything like the voting happening before it. So, like, I'm part of the PlayStation community.
Probably
so things like Worms Rumble, when you see things like Worms Rumble and Fall Guys and Bug Snacks, it's like great games, but I feel like this is leaning towards skewing it slightly towards a younger audience. And then you get to absolute surprise, where you can definitely feel the Japanese influence in there when you've got things like Doki Doki Literature Club.
Doki Doki.
That's in there. You've got things like Tales of Arise. Great game, but not one I expected to see on here when Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade isn't on the list. Unless they only went one Final Fantasy, because 16 is on the list. But
Skater XL, never heard of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the top 40 PlayStation games.
Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. So there's a
mixed bag.
I'm curious what the criteria was.
It might just be a voted list. But either way, plenty of great titles to come, and PlayStation 5, if you're a PlayStation gamer out there, 40 million means more money in the bank for Sony, which means more investment, which means more of the AAA games that you seemingly love and want from this business. So congratulations all around, and to celebrate PlayStation 5's success is it's getting a price cut as part of a summer sale. If you are out there contemplating buying a PlayStation 5, you can get up to £75 or $75 or your local equivalent off up until the 10th of August this year. If you buy direct to go through some of the partners, I believe like Amazon and Game in the UK, probably GameStop in the States and such, you can buy direct from them, which is interesting because they took the hit on the price increase, Richie, a few months back, and then they're going to just knock £75 off the price, which I don't feel like they need to do. Like, Nintendo, very, very reluctantly, never slashed the price of the Nintendo Switch to this date, and it's not behooved them yet.
I wonder if they've seen a drop in the numbers since they've upped the price, if that slowed a bit. So we'll do a flash sale or something just to top the numbers up a bit to make the current quarters figures look a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine in like console sales, the summer's probably a down point in the year.
Yeah.
You imagine autumn, winter on the run up to like Christmas, you're going to get a boost. Then things like January sales in the first quarter of the year might give it a boost. So it's maybe this time of the year when people are actually thinking more about things like they're paying off their summer holiday sort of thing. Maybe you just do see a bit of a dip.
Mm-hmm.
So a summer sale might be just to lift them sales figures so the quarter doesn't look as bad to investors. And
again, sales are always there to just kind of help drive numbers, as you said. It's mad to think, though, you can pick up a PS5, a disc version, for £404, which seems really reasonable for a PS5.
And I would recommend the disc version to anyone over the discless. You're paying more money up front, but if you don't need every major game day and date, I think I've already seen Final Fantasy 16 drop by £10 on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So there's £10 off the difference in price if you buy the disc version. You extrapolate that across the lifetime of the console, you probably save hundreds of pounds by having the disc version. So
it's just if you think close to nearly 500, the price was at, and then now if you do go all in on the digital, you can get the digital edition for $389. Which, like, I know obviously money's tight right now, but $389 ain't terrible, I think, for what the PS5 is. And as you said, if you got PS Plus for a few months or a year, the library that's available now of your PS4 back catalogue and PS5 and all them games we just rattled off, no wonder PS5's doing so. It's so good. Like, the video games we've had over the last generation, like, we've gushed about it on many, many shows, but man, video games are cool, right? So much good, and there's so much in the pipeline. I'm getting hyped for Spider-Man now. Now we've got the consoles out. Although I've heard scalpers are out there claiming the faceplates for the Spider-Man 2 PS5 and the controller. And I did look at the controller last night, and it was like 69 quid, and I was like, I don't need another controller, but it does look cool. Like, it does look cool.
If you're a scalper, just fuck off.
Yeah, scalp your head.
You're making the world worse for everyone. That's what you're doing.
That's what you're doing. Well, how do you sleep at night? Probably tired from playing video
piles
games.
And piles of Facebook faceplates that no one else can have.
Facebook faceplates.
And PlayStation faceplates. They just get them stacked up and it's uncomfortable because the plastic digging into them, but they're theirs. And they'll make £5 profit of each one of them.
Yeah. Fill your boots if you can get them. Speaking of Spider-Man 2, though, moving on to our next story of the week. Spider-Man 2, of course, coming out in October. Faceplate, exclusive consoles out there now. Looks very, very nice. On the horizon of that, there are rumours of Insomniac not slowing down anytime soon, and there's been reports that there is a third AAA game in development at the studio. Of course, we know that Spider-Man 2 on the horizon. We've got Wolverine probably going to follow up after that. Other games they've had out in recent years was Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. However, according to Insomniac Games, there's been another AAA announcement. Looking at the website, they're hiring for a multiplayer game. So, I guess I'll put it over to you, Richie. If it's not a side project, it's a AAA game. We know PlayStation are leaning into games as a service. They've showcased at least 6 or 7 of them at the last event. We got obviously Destiny's follow-up Marathon. We got, why can't I think of the names all of a sudden?
what was the one from Haven?
Exactly.
The one from Haven.
It's got a dollar sign in it that really annoys me. I kind of think of these. I'm usually really good with this kind of thing.
Because they were nondescript.
Yeah. Concord was the other one they showed off, which was the end, which again was the nondescript sci-fi trailer. And what, Pay Rise? It's not Pay Rise. I'm thinking of Payday, but it's not Payday. Yeah. Something with a dollar sign in it. Correct me in the chat. It'll come to me by the end of the episode, I'm sure. But in terms of Insomniac, Richie, they are the workhorse at the moment for PlayStation. Ratchet and Clank, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, now Spider-Man 2, then Wolverine, and then apparently working on another one. What do you expect to see from this? Are we thinking a Ratchet and Clank multiplayer game? Are we thinking something in line with the Marvel titles they're working on? What do you expect to see?
Ratchet and Clank, but that could be interesting. But it could also go down the Crash Team Rumble, where it goes, what is this? Why does this exist?
This isn't Ratchet and Clank, yeah.
Yeah, it could, but maybe if you almost went like, I've never played Ratchet and Clank, but if you went so almost like, oh, what's the Nintendo one with the squids and the ink stuff? Oh, what's it called?
For Nintendo? Splatoon?
Yeah, Splatoon, yeah. You could maybe go down a Splatoon vibe with Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, there's lots of weapons, there's lots of varied characters, and they did in Rift Apart. They did introduce essentially the multiverse, so you can have multiple variations of all of the beloved characters.
So there could be something like that if they're going. I was thinking though maybe the revisit like Resistance.
I mean, this has been a thing for some time. My brother is the biggest Resistance fan ever, and in a world where PlayStation is seemingly missing shooters and kill zones on the quiet, on the down low, since Guerrilla's pivoted towards Horizon, Resistance rounded out. You can't play Resistance currently, other than like through cloud possibly. But actually, ironically enough, back to the PlayStation 5 being on sale, my brother's PS5 is done. It's bugged itself up in one of the updates, and he can't get it fixed.
Really?
So he's gone back and he's playing his PlayStation 3 games. So he's working his way through Resistance currently. And yeah, I think it's a great shout. And Insomniac, frustratingly enough, do tease Resistance every time there's an anniversary. They post some key artwork and say, oh, happy celebrations, go hunt the Chimera. And then everyone's like, oh, it's a tease, and nothing comes from it.
So the fact that they keep referencing it suggests that there's people in the studio who still have kind of like a lot of fondness for the franchise.
They were great games.
And if they retooled that to be a predominantly multiplayer experience rather than a single player experience that has multiplayer, it might be like, you know, how things like God of War got the retooled how the God of War plays. Nintendo did it with Zelda when it came to Breath of the Wild. Maybe it's going for that kind of looking at it with that kind of makeup and go, what is a modern Resistance game for the PS5 generation?
Yeah.
And maybe it isn't a single player shooter. Maybe it is a multiplayer shooter. With the direction Sony are pushing, more games as a servicey stuff, they've got a dormant IP sat there. I think it's long enough now since the last game came out where they could reasonably retool it. I think it could be there.
Yeah. With Resistance, my biggest win probably would be give it the Resident Evil treatment. Take the story, which is great, refine it a little bit, bring it up with some modern sensibilities. And it had the original, I think, games, maybe 2 and 3, had multiplayer. It was in that era when a single-player game did have multiplayer attached, like Capture the Flag, Team Deathmatch. But in that world, like, that was a thing. So they've got the bad guys.
Maybe you do that again.
Yeah, I would quite
Maybe you don't need to
that.
retool it. Maybe you just go, right, we're just going to give a modern spin on the format that it was, and just go, right, yeah, you're going to have a single player. You're going to, like now Call of Duty kind of goes, he's a 10 to 15 hour single player experience, but then it's multiplayer from there on out. Yeah. Maybe you just do that.
Cool. And I always have a soft spot for Resistance because it was the first video game, Richie, where in the opening mission, or one of the opening missions, you play in York in the UK, which is very rarely represented in video games. And I was like walking around the crumbled, destroyed city of York, which is a classic, like, ancient city. You find like collectible like letters and stuff and notes from people nearby, and there's actually a letter that has our hometown referenced in it, and I was like, oh shit, not only are we in York, but like, again, never seen it in video game history before, so it always made me remember the game fondly because of that. So Resistance.
Wait, I've got to ask, when you were playing Valhalla, did you go to our hometown, get
Yeah.
slightly disappointed that there's nothing there?
Yeah, it's not the map to scale isn't 1-for-1, and you go, it's just a pebble on the beach.
It should have been around here, but it's not there. It was Fair Game as well, what Haven Studios working on.
Fair Games, of course, yeah, with the $, yeah.
Fair
Hopefully
Game
that's
dollar.
one. Fair Game dollar. And then I guess the other IP they've really got is Sunset Overdrive, but I'm pretty sure that's part owned by Microsoft still, depending on what the licensing dealer was with that exclusive for Xbox. But it wasn't really multiplayer anyway, so let us know in the comments below what you would like to see from Insomniac. Is it another Spider-Man spin-off with multiplayer? Would Spider-Man Online work? Ratchet and Clank spin-off? Would you like to see the Resistance franchise return on many of the other Insomniac titles as well? Sly Cooper's Insomniac, right? I feel like he was there PS1
maybe?
era. He was their like raccoon mascot for that era, so they keep teasing him as well, I'm sure. But I don't feel like that would work unless you go down a horrible Crash Team Rumble avenue as well. So we'll leave that one to you people in the comments. Moving on to our next story of the week, we pivot away to the world of Ubisoft and the Immortals Phoenix Rising, formerly known as Gods and Monsters, but they changed the name because of Monster Energy Drink's potential lawsuit, which was weird. Cancelled. Sequel cancelled. Reporting from multiple sources and reading from Video Games Chronicle, Ubisoft has cancelled plans for a sequel to 2020's mythological open-world adventure Immortals Phoenix Rising. According to multiple sources who confirmed anonymously that the follow-up game was in early development at Ubisoft Quebec, who's the team was responsible for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but the company's leadership ultimately decided to cancel it early this month due to a perceived challenges around establishing the IP. The original Immortals was also developed by the same studio and received generally favourable reviews. Ubisoft's intention was to grow Immortals into a franchise and intended to explore different mythologies other than Greek, such as Hawaiian Polynesian myths. The DLC for the original game did include Chinese mythology, having players plays a new hero, Ku, and it also ventured into different mythologies along the way. Richie.
Yeah.
Immortals Phoenix Rising. We played a demo back in the day, actually, when the demo was available on Google Stadia. I have the Platinum Trophy in Immortals Phoenix Rising, so I'm a big, big fan. And I'm really disappointed that it's not getting a sequel. I've seen on Twitter there's a lot of people, it almost like, I'd say it has a cult following, but it doesn't because the game was received quite well. And in the article, Ubisoft actually state that a lot of their sales were made through heavy discounted promotions. And I'm kind of thinking, well, that's on you, Ubisoft. You're the idiots who always discount your games like a week after they launch.
Let's remember as well, Immortals, because I'm a little bit annoyed about the reasoning behind this. They launched Immortals Phoenix Rising in the shadow of Valhalla and Watch Dogs Legion.
Mm-hmm.
All three games came out within a month of each other,
Yep.
and I'd say Immortals Phoenix Rising was very much the junior of them three and was probably overshadowed. And it plays quite similar to Assassin's Creed. Different tone, different vibe. It's a lot more comic in tone, a lot more cartoony. But the gameplay could just be an Assassin's Creed game in a lot of ways. So you already brought it out at a stupid time when it's overshadowed by your own things at a busy point in the year on the run up to Christmas. And then you're saying the problems is in establishing an IP. Well, you've only got brought out one game. IP isn't established on one game.
Yeah,
because then it's just a game. You need more. You need a second game, and then if the second game comes out and it fails, then go okay, maybe it's not the IP. But I think there's a solid IP there. I really do.
Like I said, they're reviewed very, very well. Beloved by. I've seen a lot of our followers over on Twitter comment on this and say, like, actually, yes, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought the comedy level of Immortals was surprisingly refreshing. The gameplay, as you said, was Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which was fantastic. And the mythological elements to it, which Assassin's Creed has leaned into of recent years, it fitted to this well because it was designed to be like that. You were supposed to be interacting with gods and monsters and fighting them.
There's so much mythology in the world. You don't have to, and this was set in Greek mythology.
Yeah.
But the IP doesn't have to stick to Greek mythology. Like how Assassin's Creed bounces around from country to country. You could go, okay, the next one's going to be Norse or Egyptian or Japanese or Chinese or whatever, Native American. You could just go anywhere. You could take the mythology from absolutely anywhere in the world and tell a comic story centered around that kind of mythology, all the stories that are around, or you could stick with Greek. and maybe Phoenix comes into contact with people like Achilles and Odysseus and stuff like that. There's so much you can do with the IP. I think they're making a mistake here. I really do.
I do. I think Ubisoft, too, obviously, they've committed to Assassin's Creed. They're very much doing that business decision where, oh no, we're short on money. What should we do? Double down on what makes us money. And it's like that.
That thing where I think Activision fall into this trap where the other Activision titles, like your Crash Bandicoots, your Spirals, your Tony Hawks, these beloved franchises, sell well but don't meet expectations because of Call of Duty. It's completely skewed the expectation for profitability in a game.
Yeah.
Square do it all the time. Like things like Hitman was a profitable game. Tomb Raider, profitable game because it doesn't touch on things like Final Fantasy and some of the more traditional Square games. They're just like, oh, it's not good enough. I think Ubisoft is doing that mistake where they look at sales figures went where they wanted to, so they've give up.
Yeah.
Rather than going, okay, why don't we analyze where the reason behind that is? It's a new IP. New IP is always going to. You're not going to get everyone clamoring from a new IP right out the gate, especially from Ubisoft, because when they've got a history of making kind of decent AAA games, but rarely the ones that absolutely blow people away. So you're looking at this going, it's probably going to be decent, probably going to enjoy it, but I'm not a rush to play it for like day and date. Okay, there's Assassin's Creed there, and there's Watch Dogs in the same month. I'll play them first, or maybe I'll get this on Ubisoft Plus, or wait till it's discounted. That's just the second game I think would have sold better.
Yeah, out of the two of them, like Watch Dogs Legion was far worse than Immortals in terms of just like the fun I had playing it. I thoroughly enjoyed Immortals, and Watch Dogs was a slog. I have the platinum in that as well, but begrudgingly I just powered through because I've got all the ones of the trilogy. Ubisoft
was established IP.
Yeah, it was the third entry, and Assassin's Creed is like the 50th entry, so it's a bit harsh on Immortals. And if you've not played it, it's probably a tenner. Pick it up for a tenner or something now, but thoroughly enjoyed it.
I think they're making the Activision mistake. I really do, where they're going to end up with basically becoming effectively a one franchise developer.
Yeah.
And then everyone just stops caring about them as much.
Potentially. Ubisoft, just to round out this story, have actually since responded to the article, and they responded saying, we are reallocating some creative teams and resources within the Quebec studio. As part of our global strategy, we are directing and reallocating some creative teams and resources to other unannounced projects. The expertise and technologies these teams have developed will serve as an accelerator for the development of these key projects focused on our biggest brands. We have nothing more to share at this time. It's basically
Congratulations, you've just become a support studio.
But either way, we lament that. Hopefully we'll get to see it in the future. Maybe if it was called Gods and Monsters, it would have hit home better, because the branding for that is a stronger name in my opinion than Phoenix. No one knows what that is. Immortals is very generic. Rising, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Gods and Monsters, Phoenix Rising works. Then Gods and Monsters, whatever the next is going to be. Gods and Monsters, whatever the next is going to be. Blah blah blah.
Damn you, Monster Energy drink, for ruining Ubisoft's branding and marketing.
He says as he takes a swig of Monster.
Right, let's move on, Rich. We've got a few new stories to get through for the rest of this one. We said Final Fantasy was a big focus point for not only this episode, but the year in its entirety. And we got the announcement of Final Fantasy XIV has a new expansion called Dawntrail, which has been revealed at this week's Final Fantasy Fest in Las Vegas, America. Dawntrail will be the 5th major expansion for Final Fantasy XIV. It will be set in the summer. Released in the summer of 2024, sorry, not set in the summer. The expansion storyline will treat players to a much-needed beach vacation as the game's main characters explore the tropical island of Eorzea, Eorzea's new world. Director Nakoya Yoshida said, or known as Yoshi P, which is cool, has shared unwavering dedication to the game in the keynote presentation. I wanted to continue working on the game until I die, or even afterwards. Which is like, chill a little bit, dude. The adventure will take place in Tural, a distant land located to the west of Eorzea. Eorzea? Is that how you say that? Players will be involved in a rite of succession, competing for the opportunity to determine Tural's next ruler. However, this contest may introduce divisions among scions. This is very Final Fantasy now. Basically, it's a new island, it's a bit sunny, and there's a whole new expansion to play through. As someone who's only just wrapping up on his first ever Final Fantasy game, Richie, I throw it over to you. Why is a game That's the 14th in the series, getting DLC so far later. Is this the online version? Like, talk to me.
Yes.
Talk to me.
Yes. So Final Fantasy is stupid in terms of its naming conventions. You'd think when you got all the way through to 16, you go, okay, what you've done is you just went, we're just going to add a new number onto the end of every game, and then you know where you are. No. I mean, there is direct sequels, like Final Fantasy X had a direct sequel, which they called 10-2.
Yeah.
It works kind of because you know it's part of the 10 universe.
I'd take a 16 too.
Yeah, it kind of works. Final Fantasy 14 is an MMORPG, so for me, it doesn't. It kind of breaks the convention of the Final Fantasy numbered titles being mainline titles. This should have been something else. Just call it Final Fantasy Online. Get rid of the 14. I think 12 might have been an MMO as well. So this is why 14 is still a thing,
right?
Even though we're now up to 16, because it's a persistent game. Yeah, it's games as a service.
Is basically Final Fantasy Online.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. How does it play differently? Is it still like the same hack and? Never played it. How come?
Never played it. I'm not into MMOs. They're too time consuming. I like to finish my games. Tom has though, so I don't know. I'd be interested to. I've been interested to try it, but I don't want to get sucked into an MMO.
Is it free to play now after so long, or is it? Do you pay for expansions then with it being online? Like, what's the deal with it? Dawntrail introduces the Hub City update 7 patch expansion. Square Enix also announced expansion of this free trial version. There you go. So there's a free trial version, and obviously we spoke about Final Fantasy on yesterday's show, XPass as well, because there's big Xbox news for the franchise as well. But yeah, it doesn't interest me. I don't want to go back over with Final Fantasy. I feel like 16 is my jumping on point. Then the next one I'll probably try is either going to be 7 Remake, because that seems like that would then give me 2.
I don't want to go back over. I'm going to go from 16 to 7.
But isn't this one the most beloved and it's in the best form ever? So
yeah,
I don't want to go back over to like 15, 16, 14 downwards.
And let's be fair, 7 Remake is the one that directly preceded 16, so it's not a big drop back.
Or the Pixel remaster on my Switch, just with something portable to play, but I don't think it's probably in my wheelhouse, but I digress on that one. So this one, again, Dawntrail, it keeps going, it's out there in the world now, and on the back of that, we've also got Fall Guys, which we still need to play a stream of Fall Guys, because it's so fun. I think with our community, it'd be really good. We'll have to check that one at some point. Final Fantasy 14 has got a Fall Guys crossover. It's also on the way, so you can play as a Choco Bean if you want to. Yoshi P also announced at the Fan Fest in Las Vegas. You're going to be able to play these costumes and mini games in Final Fantasy's Gold Saucer era, whatever that means. Play as the Warrior of Light Fame Pass within Fall Guys from the 22nd of August. It's going to give you all the characters in little suits like beans. That's all. Should we play Fall Guys soon?
We should.
We keep saying it, and then for some reason, I think something. The problem with when we have Game Pass is something launches like every week, and it's like, oh, that's new. We should probably play that rather than like a staple like Rocket League. We've not played Rocket League either, and that's fantastic fun.
I'm okay to not play Rocket League. I'm not very good at it.
Right.
I don't enjoy it. It's an awesome game that I don't enjoy.
Are you better at it than FIFA though?
No.
Oh, okay. Rounding things out for this week, we have. It's a shame Rob's not here because Shrek. Is got a game on the horizon. Shrek is back in DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing. There's no trailer for this game yet, but basically we've had the announcement of 2 new DreamWorks animation-inspired video games. DreamWorks Troll Remix Rescue, which sounds like a family game, and All-Star Kart Racing, which is basically team up with the likes of Shrek, Puss in Boots, Boss Baby, Hiccup, Astrid, don't know who they are. I think they're from Train Your Dragon, potentially. Kung Fu Panda characters, creatures from Madagascar. Basically, any DreamWorks animated movie you can think of from the last decade, they are here in this for the first time. Play as them. It's from the same studio that made the Nickelodeon kart racer, so they're well-versed in basically take a bunch of IP, make us a kart racer, and it fills that Mario Kart void that when everyone wants to play Mario Kart but they don't have a Switch, that's what these are for, I reckon.
Yeah, but they're nowhere near as good. It's like, I don't know. I always think they always just feel cheap and clunky and just never. You don't get the same sort of enjoyment out of these games as you do a Mario Kart. And before you mentioned it was the same guys who made the Nickelodeon one, I was thinking, hopefully they'll come in, they'll make it absolutely awesome kart racer that just happens to use DreamWorks asset and like IP, but feels like it's just going to be just another generic bland kart racer that's just going to slap Shrek's face and try and sell. I don't know. Just it's a shame. I'm not expecting anything from this game now. Like,
oh, that'll do, Donkey. But we've got to
6 out of 10 best.
I mean, yeah, I'm not expecting Mario Kart levels of awesomeness or Crash
That's
Team
what
Racing.
you should be aiming for. If you're going to make a kart racer, that's the standard.
I don't think they're in that.
It's Mario Kart. It's Crash Team. You don't have to hit it, but you need to at least be coming close, so it looks like a viable alternative.
I think it'll be a passable game for families or people who are fans of the franchise, like Rob. If Rob was here and we told him there's a new Shrek game, he would be over the moon because Rob is the biggest Shrek fan.
He'd spend the rest of the day having a Shrek marathon.
Yeah, just the sheer mention of it, he has to go and watch all of the movies back to back. I wonder if he's seen Puss in Boots yet.
Of course he is.
He must have done, yeah. He's not really a big fan of it. We just make fun of him. I bought him a Shrek keychain as a joke, but
I don't even know how that thing started. We just started.
It was because it started. So inside secret for people who listen. I don't know if Rob checks this out when he's not on the show, but yeah, we were at my wife's birthday party. Remember, and we got one of the big teepee tents for everyone to chill out and have drinks in, and there was a projector with movies, so we could watch movies on the night. And I think the girls decided, let's watch Shrek, and Rob was like so vehemently against it. Everyone was like, why don't you like Shrek? And because of that, naturally, as you take the piss out of your mates, is the default was, you hate Shrek so much, you must really secretly love it. So for the rest of the night, I think we watched Shrek 1 and 2, and then possibly started 3 before people got drunk and fell asleep.
I don't think anyone wanted to watch Shrek 2. I think we put it on just to piss Rob off.
Just to get Rob. And then, yeah, I went to London, I think later that summer. We went to the Shrek experience in London, and I bought him a Shrek keyring, and now it's just a thing. So anything Shrek related, send Rob's way, folks. I'd say tag him on social media, but he still hasn't sorted out his social channels, so we digress. Pivoting away from the Green Monster over to Wild West, weirdly enough. Red Dead Redemption, we mentioned it on last week's episode or the week before. Rumours about a remake happening, we spoke about it in depth. On the website, Rockstar's website, there's some new iconography gone up that basically looks to petition this as Rockstar Games Presents Red Dead Redemption. So seemingly there's some kind of logo rebranding going on behind the scenes on Rockstar's very own website, which there's no smoke without fire, Richie. I think it's safe to say we're due an announcement imminently of Rockstar's new game. Gamescom is within mere weeks in Germany. Yes. I think this is a shoo-in for Rockstar dropping it before the year's out. What do you think?
100%. I don't know if it'll be before the year's out, but it's coming.
Coming imminently. So we won't go too much into that. We'll probably just get a next-gen version of it running in the same engine as Red Dead 2. But there are things going on behind the scenes to make it happen. A few final quick stories. Dying Light studio developer Techland is set to be acquired by Tencent. So if anyone's played Dying Light 2, did that come out this year? I feel like it did.
I don't know.
We got Dead Island 2.
No, last year. February last year.
February last year. God, time goes so quick. Techland, Chinese firm Tencent is setting itself up to be the studio's main shareholder, effectively acquiring the Polish team. Confirmed over on the website, it says the buyout allows Techland to move full speed ahead with executing its vision on their games, which involves more from the Dying Light series and an unannounced open-world action RPG. We retain full ownership of our IP, maintain creative freedom, and continue to operate the way we believe is right. I'm also going to continue serving as studio's CEO, he adds. Under the wing of Tencent, the team want to turn the Dying Light franchise into the ultimate zombie gaming experience by providing you with multiple astonishing adventures and pushing the boundaries of solo and online modes to a totally new level. The unannounced open RPG will ship with a fantasy setting that's already shaping up to become something truly special. This follows Tencent's venture into the Western gaming market, having already acquired Back 4 Blood maker Turtle Rock Studios, Sackboy Big Adventure makers Sumo Digital, and securing minority stakes in Ubisoft, Bloober Team, who are working on the Silent Hill remake, Remedy, who make Control, and a few more. So we've spoken over the last couple of weeks about Activision's buyout on Xbox. Tencent doing kind of a similar thing, but they're doing it more on the less obvious. They're just slowly acquiring shares and assets in these big companies all over the planet.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them things with a Chinese firm. There's a little bit of concern there, but then Tencent just seemed to buy shares in in studios. Sometimes majority shares, sometimes all of them, sometimes just a minority stake, and then seemingly do not much unless there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. You never know. It could be, going back to the Ubisoft conversation, maybe Tencent's influence in Ubisoft is what's pushing them to drop things like Immortals Phoenix Rising if it's not seen as profitable enough. It's hard to judge what the impact of Tencent is, but they don't. So it's hard to know.
They seemingly don't want to be. It's kind of like Embracer. They don't want to be the face of everything that's going on, but they're happy to spend money on investing in it, and then my guess is taking shares of the profits back out. So as long as that's as far as the influence goes, evidently these teams selling out to them they don't seem to have any concerns. It is weird that they emphasize in a lot of these announcements is we retain full ownership, full creative freedom. I think that's because the worry with that influence from outside is like, oh, because in certain parts of the world, like gay rights, LGBTQ2 stuff, it's still shunned upon, and like we've seen Disney get in trouble with it by taking like people off the posters for stuff and altering them. I think even this week, Oppenheimer, there was a scene in Oppenheimer which got CG edited for certain markets, because of the way the culture is over there. And I think the worry is that these big video game companies are going to shirk away from telling certain stories because they're part owned by someone who maybe frowns upon a story of that like.
In a similar thing in football, Jordan Henderson, former Liverpool captain, has just moved to a Saudi Arabia team, and the team's already coming under like criticism because Jordan Henderson always wore his captain's armband was always a rainbow one, and it seems like the made it grayscale in some of the press footage.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? But then I can see that because not that Sackboy or Back for Blood or anything has that influence, but it does just sometimes make you wonder if the person providing the money and puppeteering it, what's for them to turn around and say, you got to cut that storyline, you got to change that because our cultural roots don't want that in this game.
I don't think that's what Tencent are doing. I don't think they're going to be like too involved in creative decision making. I think it's probably cold, harder, and capitalist than that. They're just going to look purely at the books. They don't care what the product is and go, oh well, this Immortals Phoenix Rising game is only making this percentage of profit compared to this Assassin's Creed one, which is making much more. So why are we making that? Why are we spending money on that? Why don't we just make more of that? I think that it's probably more likely to be that kind of stuff from the negative side. So they're not directly influencing the vision of a game, but they're going, why are you making that when we can make more profit doing this instead?
Do these games release in China? I think we discussed this before. Is the PlayStation 5 even available to buy in China?
I have no idea.
We don't know. We need to ask our friend, actually.
I'd assume so.
But would they not sell more? Because the population of China is like 100+ million, right? And they've got to be they've got to be gamers. So earlier on the show we talked about 40 million sold. It doesn't seem like that much with a population of that. But
I don't know. There could be political stuff with Japan there.
Well,
I really don't
exactly.
know. I don't know that.
We know Sony are leaning more into buying in Chinese developers and investing in them as well. We've got not Wulong. The one that tells the story about the monkey god person. What is it? Not Wulong. I've got Fallen Dynasty. Wukong, Black Myth Wukong, something like that. The gorgeous looking Unreal Engine 5 game. That's from a Chinese developer studio. And Sony are investing back across the other side of the water. So
I've just had a quick Google. It seems to be like some region locking going on in China with PS5. So I guess, without digging too far into it, I guess they're available but restricted.
You get them in Hong Kong, then you have to export them to the mainland.
It's probably things like the OS and stuff is modified to suit like the Chinese government's standards and stuff like stuff. So there'll be stuff like that. I think it's just region locked, so you probably can't buy a Chinese version of a game. Well, you might be able to buy a Chinese version of a game, stick it in your PS5, but you probably couldn't do it the other way around.
Interesting. It's a part of the side of gaming that I guess we never really see, but seemingly Tencent. I thought the best quote you said there was their capitalistic approach. From a business that runs in a predominantly communist country, which we won't go into that here on the show. But rounding things out, Richie, with an interestingly positive story, the Twisted Metal TV series is good. Everything we saw from the trailer and the build-up to it and the background story is good. It has an audience score on Rotten Tomatoes sitting at 91% overall. Sweet Tooth and the crew, Anthony Mackie, Stephanie Beatrice. They've done it, Richie. Twisted Metal.
I don't believe it.
You still don't believe it, even though it's out?
Yeah, I don't believe it. Like,
does this incline you to watch it more?
Well, considering the link on the Push Square article to the Rotten Tomatoes page is now coming up for 404 error.
It's all a ploy. Yeah, I don't know what to make of this. I mean, I still kind of don't have any real interest in watching it. I actually don't think it's been confirmed to release in the UK yet. I think it's coming to Sky TV and Now TV because we don't have Peacock in the UK. But yeah, we're waiting on that still. So now it's good. It might come out. We're not going to do a Clickercast series of it, but yeah. I mean, pleasantly surprised. That's the thing is when we look at PlayStation Studios.
I hope it's good. I'm still very skeptical.
The Last of Us obviously set a very, very high bar for PlayStation adaptations. We've got Horizon in the works. We've got God of War in the works, apparently. We've got the Uncharted movie, which I really, really enjoyed. So there's things ticking over there. But yeah, Twisted Metal surprisingly received well.
Audience score of 92%. I found the actual Rotten Tomatoes page now.
You got it.
Average tomato meter is 65%. So it seems to be vibing with audience more than critics.
Which is usually the case for anything nowadays.
That could be that kind of. I imagine that makes sense. It's kind of the whole like Fast and Furious thing, where the kind of he's just a by the numbers kind of action film that a lot of people just gravitate towards and love. Where critics are a bit more discerning with something. Go, well, the storylines are kind of So I think you're more likely that something like this to get a harsher critic response than audience response.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah,
it's out there.
Make up your own decision on it. Watch it. If you enjoy it, great. More power to you.
And if you can't watch it because you're in the UK still, then
more power to us.
More power to us, the people. That brings us to an end for episode number 59 of Talking the PS, where we get together and round up all of the PlayStation news. Thank you very much, everyone who tuned in and watched, and a special thank you to, of course, our Helix heroes who support the channel. If you've made it to the end of the show, why not consider clicking join below? From as little as 99p, you get this show earlier, a bunch of stickers and badges next to your name in the chat, and more importantly, it helps support the channel, it helps grow us. And if you can't do that, or if you don't want to do that, at least give us a like. Share it with your friends, share it on social media, share it on Threads, which is a place where we are. We're trying to grow our audience over there, while Twitter, or should we say X, implodes on itself at the moment. My logo changed this morning, Richie, and it really annoyed me because on my phone, my layout, I have a row of blue icons, and it's now changed, so now I have a damn black X icon, or black and white X icon at the end of my row, and now it's made me rethink my whole phone layout, and it's not something I wanted to deal with on a Sunday morning, but here we are. Thank you, Elon Musk. Thank you. But we digress. Go over to Threads at Helix Plays Games. Find us on there. Follow us. We share all the same content. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all of that other jazz. What are you going to say there? Something in your...
I don't know. Let's just forget. I don't want to...
It's not worth getting into.
It's not worth it.
I'm not going to refer to it as X. I'm going to call it Twitter still to the day I die. Yeah. It's still Twitter.
It's like no one refers to Facebook as Meta.
Also, when I post a tweet, I'm not going to call it an Xer or whatever they've said it's going to be called. I'm not Xing. I'm not...
It doesn't make sense. You had solid branding. Why fuck with it?
He also had a solid psychology years ago when people thought he was revered as one of the best people on the planet. And yet, now he's just cracking up.
He's a Bond villain. That's what he is.
Yeah, he essentially is. He is turning into a bit of a Bond villain. But less of that, more of PlayStation news. Thanks to everyone who tuned in for this show. Again, if you are watching on podcast services, do leave us a review. Give us 5 stars, whatever you can do to help grow and support the channel. We'll be back this Thursday with another, or Friday maybe, with a live stream. Do check that one out. And enjoy the games that you're playing out there, everyone. My name has been Chris.
And I have been Richie.
And I will not be here next week, as just a reminder. We'll see you next time, though. Take care and play whatever makes you the happiest. Goodbye.
Bye.